latest at WGR550.com, state of the wide receivers. As you set it up on Twitter, no position may have been more, scrutinized going into the season. How did it go? Here's a simple question with maybe a complicated answer. We'll see. How do you think it went after all that scrutiny?
I actually think it went about the way the team planned it to go. Maybe they would have liked more kind of production, I guess, from certain individuals at certain times, right? That's Amari Cooper when he gets here. That's Keon Coleman throughout the year, especially towards the end. But I think overall it went about how they wanted it to. Everybody eats. There wasn't one guy getting all the targets. And, oh, by the way, your quarterback became the MVP of the league with this group, right? Like, how could you – I don't know if anyone could say that it went, that much worse than what they had thought, other than they did go out and trade for Amari Cooper because they felt they needed more at the position.
Yeah. I wonder if they don't – I mean, obviously, it's probably a stupid hypothetical to even bring up, but you mentioning MVP trips a wire for me. The fact that Diggs was gone, I think, helped elevate Allen's MVP candidacy. We thought it as soon as the trade was made, well, not as soon as, but eventually that became a talking point. Like, hey, doing more with less, that could enhance his standing, and maybe that it'll help him get the MVP. They did add Cooper to supplement, but still, he had a very modest output. And so I think that without the Diggs trade, maybe we're not watching Josh Allen up on stage last Thursday.
That's probably right. I think there was a lot of that being said when he was traded, right? We all said, hey, if there's ever a year where Josh could win the MVP, it's got to be this year where people will see he really doesn't have the talents around him. And if he can elevate this group, oh, my gosh, look at this group. If he can get this team to be really good on offense, well, guess what? They scored over 30 points a game. They were the second highest scoring offense in the NFL. He still put up record numbers in a lot of different ways. So, yeah, no doubt that helped him, I think, in a lot. Look, that was the talk, right? When it got towards the MVP race at the end of the year, well, look who Lamar has. Is Derrick Henry's next to him. He's got a Pro Bowl wide receiver. Josh Allen has none of that. So no doubt. But I think overall at the position, I think the Bills probably feel good about how it went for most of the year, where they probably still feel that they need more is explosiveness. And that was something we talked a lot about that they didn't necessarily have. It was why we talked a lot about the trade that they did with Kansas City at the draft last year, and then Worthy goes to Kansas City. And then even more so now, I think 2 weeks ago when we met with Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott and them talking about maybe stretching the field. You guys actually had McDermott on. You asked the question, Mike, I think about that, stretching the field. And, I think that's probably an area where they still feel they're lacking.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, Sal, you might remember, like going back to after the 2020 season, after the loss in the AFC title game to the Chiefs, it was like, I need Tyreek Hill. Like, I need some speed, right? I need something that can, push this thing down the field. And I know the game has changed and the way defenses are playing, but still, I think I said this yesterday, for a contending team overall, like a Super Bowl bona fide contender, the Bills just are not fast. Overall, not just at receiver, like in general. They're just not – speed is not, a thing top to bottom on this roster. So I'll still be thinking about that as we move into the offseason, as we're just sort of embarking on this offseason expedition, Sal. How notable – I always circle back to them making the Cooper trade. Yes, everybody eats. We don't need an alpha. We don't need a number one. They played, 6 games or whatever they played and had some trouble in 2 of those games, Baltimore and Houston, their 2 early losses, and pivoted to, okay, let's go get Amari Cooper. I feel like that's a sign that there will be not just, we'll just wait for Keon Coleman to develop and bring back Mac Hollins and, we got these practice squad guys and maybe one of them elevates. I feel like they're going to have to do more. The Cooper move mid-season or earlier than that, to me, symbolizes that they should be looking to do more this offseason.
I agree with that. I would say I really wonder what they feel about how Curtis Samuel's injury impacted him and what he wasn't able to do this year. I think Curtis Samuel was supposed to be a bigger part of the offense. I think they envisioned him to be a bigger part of the offense. They envisioned him to be a guy that would get the ball in his hands, use his speed. He's a fast guy. He's not Xavier Worthy. He's not Tyreek Hill, but he's fast, and he can run down the field. He can run past players, but more notably, he can get the ball in his hands, and he can run around and past players. And I think that was a big blow to them that they didn't have that. And once they got a few weeks into the year, and it was very notable we were all saying it. The teams were just locking these guys down man-to-man and saying, you're just not beating us with your receivers. You're not separating, and we're going to pressure Josh Allen by locking down. Brandon Beane talked about at the end of the year, and Tim and McDermott, one or the other, said how much it really was about Amari helping the others on the team and what their roles could be. And I believe that because they didn't use Amari Cooper like they used Stephon Diggs when they traded for him.
Right.
But what I think they really believed they wanted to get out of him, and whether they did or they didn't, we could debate, was if we put him on the field, people have to know he's on the field, and you just can't go straight across the board locking down all our receivers man-to-man because you have another guy who's a proven veteran here who you have to worry about.
Sal Capaccio's state of the wide receiver position for the Bills up at WGR550.com.
With all that said about Cooper, is there any price point where you would think bringing him back is a good idea, or do you think they need to pivot and do something else?
Sure. I think that if you could get him on a pretty cheap deal, what's that look like? $3-4 million? I just don't know if that would be reasonable for him.
Right.
He just last year, 2023, not this past season, he had 1,200 yards? 1,200 yards? He had 1,100 the year before that. It's amazing, right? When you look at his numbers, I was looking through it today doing the article, and I'm like, he's 1 year removed from back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons. Like, some team's going to go, dude, I'm going to pay that guy for 1 year.
Right.
So, yeah, I would think, yes, there would be a price. I would even say, $4 or $5 million. What are you paying Curtis Samuel? That's probably what I do, but I don't think you can get up into the double digits.
Right.
I just don't know if you're going to have the same philosophy. You got to have, if you're going to pay him, I think you have to have a bigger plan for him, and I just don't know if those two things would match up.
Right. And with the dearth of quality receivers on the market, it probably would be a surprise, even with a non-productive year here with the Bills, that Cooper doesn't get something more than 3 years, $40 million somewhere or something. I think somebody will pay him, maybe even more than that.
That's right. And I think, if I'm thinking of this correctly, it's his first shot at free agency, guys, I think. Right? I don't think he's ever been a free agent. He came into the league, with the Raiders, gets traded to Dallas, gets traded to the Browns. To me, he's probably going to, why wouldn't you say, look, I haven't been through this. I want to see what my value holds, and maybe you get that price up there.
We'll see what the tape looks like on him, two teams. Sal, thanks for today. Tight ends next, later in the week?
Yeah, for sure. Working on that tonight, guys. We'll have tight ends, and then wrap up the offense with the offensive line before I head away for the week, and then we'll do defense when we get back.
Thanks for your time.
You got it.